Afternoon everyone, it's Ian from DIY Home and Gardening. It's proper cold today. We're in the middle of January, thick ice this morning, and then it's been trying to snow on and off, but now it's raining. I'm going to just do the video that I kind of started doing in the autumn, never got around to finishing it, but yeah, this is just showing how to set up for the training of the Blackberry. Yeah, I'll go outside and brave the weather, show you what I'm doing. Right, so this is what I'm tackling. Seen it in previous videos. It's my Blackberries. So strangely enough, found out the other day that I've been pronouncing it wrong. So in the UK and Europe we have been calling the variety Ouachita, but actually, because it's an American bred variety, it's actually Ouachita, because it's amongst the group that have been named after the Indian tribes. So yeah, learn something new every day. Anyway, you can kind of see that how I trained them last year. I only managed to get 4 layers of wires in, because couldn't go any higher on the top post, because actually the top of the posts are not reinforced, so prone to cracking and breaking. So yeah, so that kind of restricted the growth, so to speak, or potential for tying in growth, and you can see that the stems go miles above the wires. Also, it made it quite difficult when it came to putting some netting up to stop the birds getting at all the fruit, so we end up having to cobble together some timber over the top of the fence and staple netting to it. Just didn't look good. So what I was thinking of doing, or what I'm going to do, is undo all of that section of wire, take out the vine eyes, which are these bits, take them out from the post, and basically in their place screw up the lengths of tile batten, so they go vertically up the post, and then I can then run wires at 1 foot spacing up the tile batten, which will give me a greater height, and I can then also secure some top mounts to them to then be able to build a proper frame. So that's my thought. Now I've just got to get on and do it. So I guess the first thing to do is to actually untie all of the Blackberry vine or climber, whatever you want to call it. Untie it all, let it hang to the floor, then strip the wires out, and then can begin. Right, so the Blackberry's all untied. One thing to remember, well, which I'd sort of forgotten about really, is that good time of year actually to do your pruning on Blackberries, so I'm going to do that at the same time. So this variety, Ouachita, got to remember to call it Ouachita now. So it's what's called a primocane. It's actually a thornless variety as well, so no spikes into the fingers, but it being a primocane, it will flower and produce fruit slightly later on, so the fruit goes into a slightly later period of the season, flowers a little bit later as well, but it fruits on second year's growth. So all these long stems, they haven't produced any flower last year or fruit, so they will do that this year. But what that means is that any of these older sections which did produce a little bit, you want to cut them out this time of year, so literally cut them down to the ground, as there'd be no use. And you can miss the tie there, so you can literally work your way along, snip out some of this older spent growth. So on I suppose normal normal types of blackberry. They're not that vigorous, well, not as vigorous as this, certainly not to produce that amount of growth. So generally what you'd do is you'd put in the 1 year's worth of growth and you tie it into one area or set it out, and then the subsequent growth that comes through that will be flowering for the following year. Traditional method would be just to pull it upright or pull it to an angle, so that you've got it there for tying in for the following year. But with this one, it's so vigorous that it really it takes over the whole thing. So I think moving forward, this removal from the ties and retying in will become an annual thing, just to make sure that it maintains decent shape and doesn't become too entwined and unruly. But so at least it's thornless, so not a problem. Anyway, I'm going to do a little bit of pruning, just thin it out, get rid of the bits that have fruited this year. You notice just cut them down, so about 3 inches above ground. That will encourage some more shoots from the base. Might get a shoot from the old stems as well. And then once I've pruned out these old bits, then I'll take off the wires. But just having a few less shoots around, or branches, whatever you want to call them, will make it a bit easier for removal of the wires as well. Right, wires are out. I needed to have a bit of help to untangle it all. Now to take out these vine eyes. Little tip for you, if you've got something you can use as a bit of leverage or makeshift handle, like an old screwdriver, much easier to take them out than you know, the constant pressure on your fingers to actually do the same job, especially when you first start off. It's a lot, yeah, it's quite difficult to get out. So that's my tip. So I'm just going to get all the vine eyes out now, and that won't be stripped back to just posts. Right, with the vine eyes out, you can now see that it's all clear, and I've set up one of the pieces of timber so you can kind of see that it's going to end up extending the usable height beyond that of the post. Before I secure them in place, what I'm going to do is make some top brackets, or just not even a bracket to start with. I'm just going to make a small extension piece that we can screw to the top, so then once it's secured onto the actual post, we haven't got to worry about the how we're going to make the attachment. So I'll just go and cut some sections of that. For what I'm thinking, just to extend us beyond the growth on here, we probably want a bracket that, or a section of timber that's probably about 30 centimeters long. So that's what I'm going to do now, cut those. Measure, mark and saw your 30 centimeter sections. Alright, so I cut me 3 sections. Come into the shed for a little bit to fix these because it's absolutely chucking it down where it's sort of a sleety hail. So yeah, fed up with getting too wet. Anyway, what I'm going to do is fix these onto there, and then that will enable me, once the posts are in position, to then create a bracket from which to create a support to put the netting over. So then we'll have permanent, well, allow us to have a nice neat permanent structure that will obviously have the netting over to prevent all the birds from eating my lovely juicy blackberries. So yeah, first things first, attach the timber work. So do a couple of pilot holes through there and into your support bracket, and then we'll just put some screws in. So just got some relevant size. Well, actually I might go longer, so I'll probably go get some 50mm screws, just put those into there, and that'll secure that nicely. So you can see, got the top sections on now. Now to start securing onto the actual posts themselves. So the thing with this is you can see the ground's a little bit undulating. So if we were to start and position the timber work, working from the bottom upwards, then would find that actually it wouldn't be level. However, on this occasion we know that the 3 posts are all level. So the easiest way in this instance is to start with your tape measure from the top and measure downwards, and then put your marking at the base where you want to start the timber work, and do that on each of the 3 posts. That way you're going to end up with the correct starting point on each post, rather than trying to work it from the ground up, which isn't going to be level. So that's my tip. So that's what I'm going to do now. Measure from top of post down, probably stop about 1 inch above ground level, starting with the highest post or highest section of ground, which will be that one. So we'll start there, leave the post leave the timber work so it's about 1 inch above the ground level, stop it rotting, get that one marked out, and then fixed into position, and then we can do the others exactly the same way. Right, we've got the bottom marking done. So from top working downwards, that there represents 1.60 m coming down the post. And what I've done is I've extended a marking to represent the centre of each of these rule plugs. So then that gives you a better focal point. Position your timber work up. Really you need a second person to be able to do this, or alternatively someone who's not holding a camera with the other hand. But imagine that this is set at the correct level. Use a set square like so, positioned, and then you can move your set square up down on your timber work to get you level with your actual marking, and then you can then transfer your pencil line onto the timber work. So then that will give you a height at which you will then start your drilling point, and on the basis that these were in the centre of the post, you also then would want your hole to be in the centre of this timber. So I'll set one out and show you exactly how I mean. So I've just used the tape measure to offer it up to get it to the correct height. So you can see, use the set square to get my line across, and you probably can't really work it out, but then that gives you your central point on the timber work. So that is where I'll drill the hole to line up for this one. Before you get too carried away with drilling holes, get the other ones all marked up, and then drill them all in one go. It's going to be much easier for you. Okay, holes all marked out and drilled. First screw in. What I've done, I've got it protruding slightly out on the other side, so that's so you can get the first one lined up into the rule plug. I don't know if you can make this out, but it's trying to snow now. Can you make that out? Who knows. Anyway, things I do to make a video. But let's get back to this, eh? I'll get this screwed up and then yeah, show you how it looks. Right, got the first screws in, so here's one for you. Like so many, I've had to do a slight bodge job for the time being, because actually these 70mm screws that I've got, they're just a bit too long. The 50mm screws that I've got are too short, and so I actually need 60mm screws, which I've got, but they are for plasterboard screws. So for the time being I'm going to do 60mm plasterboard screws in there, and then once I can get to the shops I'll get some proper 60mm screws and swap them out. But yeah, as you can see, that's secured in, but just going to have to swap that last one out and put drywall screw in that as well. So I have to do that for each of the 3 supports. So let me show you one finished. Now, upright post with top sectional bracket done. So got the next 2 to do, or last 2 to do, and then that's first stage complete. So if you need some help, don't be afraid to get someone else to help hold the wood for you whilst you get your marking done. Right, now got the 3 posts in, they're all secured. So the next stage is basically to replicate what we had to begin with. So starting with the bottom, measure up 1 foot, mark it, do a small pilot hole, and then you can then start screwing the vine eyes back in, and repeat as you all the way up the post to as high up as you want to go. I'd say don't go right to the very top, because you'll want to have some gap for allowing the net to come down and have clearance between the net and the top of the blackberries, so that the birds don't pick all the blackberries while sitting on the top of the net. So enough ramble, let's get marking and drilling and screwing. There you can probably see I've got the vine eyes in. Next stage would be to get the wire in, but you can probably notice it's now snowing. It's getting a little bit crazy. So yeah. So I think for me, I'm going to take a break from this, go in for a cup of tea and come back out tomorrow and finish up. So see you tomorrow. Well, it kind of feels like today's more of the same. Got home after work, it's obviously darker, so I've got a light set up. Raining again, but you can now see that I've managed to get the straining wires set up, including an extra section to the top. So all that remains now is to get some twine out, knife, and tie the blackberries back in again. Okay, as you see, it's properly dark out here. I've been working using head torch. Still raining quite a bit, but needless to say, I've got the Blackberry Ouachita all tied in. The only exceptions would be those couple of bits at the top there, so once they put on a bit more growth as spring arrives, then I'll be able to bend them and tie them in. But for the time being, you see that that is this year's frame all set out, and hopefully I should get a really good crop off that plant this year, or series of plants. And then as I say, with the growth that comes on this year, which will be for fruiting for next, so that will come from the base. Now that we've done the pruning, then that will be tied in and swap it all around for next year. But yeah, done. So as you can see, the only thing that remains is once the plants actually start growing and need to do the covering, then I can then just do an extension coming straight down, which will give me a good framework for putting the netting on, and that's really all there is to it. I can just kind of leave these to do their own thing. Come April, put down a slow release fertilizer and make sure that they kept watered in growing season. But yeah, another job ticked off the list in middle of January. So hopefully you've liked the video, hopefully you pick up some tips of well, probably when not to do it. You know, pick a day that's actually going to be sunny and warm, but yeah, these jobs need doing. So yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Please message me or subscribe if you did. I'll always reply to any messages. Keep enjoying your gardening, and as always, take care, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.